Thank you, Sims. Now, according to some education experts, one of the most valuable ways to ensure a child's successful academic journey is to set clearly defined goals and constantly measure progress against those objectives. This morning, we'll look at how we can ensure children flourish in setting goals and academic outcomes. And for more on this, let's chat to academic head at ADvTECH Schools Desiree Hugo, and she joins us on Zoom. Desiree, a very good morning to you. Let's start with the importance of goal setting for students. Explain why this is important.
Good morning, Lebo, and good morning to all your viewers. Definitely this time of year, as school is commencing and tertiary institutions are starting to enroll students and commence their courses, it really becomes an essential time to focus on where each student needs to be and what they want to achieve. And we do this in a schools division where what their journey needs to look like based on previous performance or based on any new assessments that may be done. And we track that student's performance with the student to ensure that the results they're wanting to achieve for ultimately where they want to be on their journey in life are aligned. And if necessary, the support structures that need to be put in place or the extension structures that need to happen are made available to the students.
Mm-hmm. Explain to us why you say students themselves should take ownership of the goal-setting process.
I think if students take ownership themselves, there's a deep buy-in by the student. And it's not just the teacher saying, we expect this from you and you will do this and you will do that, as well as with parents. It shouldn't become a fight with parents to say, come on, you've got to get so many marks, so much percentage, for instance, in a matric student to access the university degree or opportunity of post-school success that you may wish to be part of. So what we have put in place and has really been helpful is having student-led conferences where the student, the teacher, and the parent meet together and define the journey with the child and the student suggesting some elements of that journey when they're setting these specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. Now, those that I've just mentioned now are called the SMART goals, which is an academic business model from 1981 defined by Doran. But it really, really does work when you're sitting together with a child or a student, a parent or a family member, and the teacher who is encountering that child every day in lessons to ensure that they are on track to achieve the goals the student had a part in setting. Mm-hmm. And therefore the buy-in is greater and we do see success.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about, teachers, schools and parents and how they can help, their kids navigate personal academic map in these conferences or away.
So the intention is to give them a personal journey so that they can see, if we're looking at the older students in high school, what do I want to do? Where's my journey going to take me post-schooling? And what results do I require to access any tertiary course that I want to choose? So the teacher can pull up the documents, and we align with the work of the IIE as part of ADvTECH, where we've got all the tertiary institutions, the private tertiary institutions aligned to our group, where the schools can immediately see what APS scores are required for students. But this is possible even on any university's website, where you can access what are the scores required in different subjects to be a possibility of a student in that course when I finish school. And that just tracking that journey supports the student understanding, firstly, have I got the correct subjects for my BD, my bachelor degree pass, if I'm wanting to access that kind of tertiary, or am I on track for a higher certificate or a diploma pass? And then what opportunities are available to me, and then what subject points do I need to attain in order to meet those requirements for acceptance into a tertiary institution. And it's really, really tight to get into particularly your public universities, they're limited spaces. So that is in sort of that framework for the older students. For the younger students, it is about what do you want to achieve? So you sit with the child and the parent and you're going through the key subjects, perhaps the maths and English in the very lower grade. let's see, how many books are we going to read in a month? You know, how many activities are you going to really work hard at so that we can support you in improving your results? And in making the journey a participative one, so that students really feel that they have made decisions for themselves, because student autonomy brings another element of learning and growth and development in a young child, where they feel they do have some control over how they learn and what they learn. But obviously with our students and student-led conferences, even from a very young age, we're bringing in the parent, the student, and the child to sit together, and let's come up almost with the contract of goal setting. And then regular feedback. How are we tracking towards that goal? Are there any other supportive interventions that we need to put in place from a school's perspective, advisory to parents from a parent's perspective? Or even the student may say, you know what, I'm finding this really, really challenging, or this is hard for me, or wow, this is so easy, can we push the goals further? So, you know, it's really, really a dynamic approach. It's not just set the goal, now you're stuck with that goal forever. It's that constant review and reflection, which also adds to building those neural pathways in young children, you know, and making them think about what their goals were. Are we still on track? And am I happy to still meet those goals? But yet being held to them. You know, it's not just like, oh, well, I don't like it anymore, I'll change it. No, those goals are set for success at those different levels and different ages.
And, you know, along the way as well, are we saying that, you know, the children are allowed to at least change their minds? Yes, we've set goals, but there's also room to change your mind.
Absolutely. And I think when you really are tracking the data of a student, and from a teacher's perspective and a parent's perspective, and we've just recently launched our live student information system, so parents can immediately track their achievement of their students in assessments once the marks have been entered. And this is showing us that the student has complete visibility over their achievement, so does the parent. So if the goal is no longer on track to be met, or if it was just a far too simplistic goal, let's review, let's revisit. You know, we're not, and the student may well change their mind. You know how difficult it is, even when you're in the upper end of schooling, to have a clearly defined future or a clearly defined journey as to what you want to achieve and where you want to be. So that may well change. You may suddenly think, wow, let me add another subject in grade 11 so that I have opportunity to register for a particular course. Or just adjusting my marks. I need to really study the marks I'm presently getting, and are they setting me on the right track to achieve what I'm setting out to achieve in the goal setting. But that flexibility within limits, I would say. You know, you don't want to say, well, set your goal, doesn't matter, just change it whenever you like. And this also then prepares you for the business world. You know, when you set key performance areas, you know, those are your goals actually to achieve for success in the organization.
Now, we often see some students losing focus, you know, and motivation towards their academic goals. What would you say contributes to that, and how do parents and teachers assist?
I certainly think if the goals are not achievable, if they are feeling out of reach is one way of looking at it. If they are just too difficult and they set too high, so therefore it needs to be based on data. And any good school will really track academic data of a student and the journey of a student and say, this is a realistic goal. You know, don't expect to get an A in physical science when your whole journey, you've just been passing it at 50. We can try work hard, and our goal is to get you to a 60. Let's get you to a better symbol so that you get more access to different courses where physical science may be required. So really, really just tracking those academics on that journey so that the student feels accomplished when they meet them. And then resetting those targets. You know, it doesn't mean because I've met the goal, now our life is done. It's really resetting targets and moving our students forward in terms of what is the next goal now. And so if teachers really track the results closely, you know, we want to push students to be the best they can be. And that is tracking the data, building a personalized learning journey, which then comes into that student-led conference with parent and the child. the other side of that is that the goal is just far too challenging. And let's review that. Let's look at that, understand why. Do we still want to keep that goal, but then add in a whole lot of support structures to ensure that our student reaches that goal? Or should we reconsider other options, professionally? Let's look at it from a professional perspective and not just a haphazard way. Let's really structure and consider all the data points that the child brings with them.
All right, Desiree Hugo, thank you so much for talking to us. She was talking to us about how we can help kids flourish in academic outcomes.